You know, the more I look at what's happening inside Ferrari right now, the clearer it becomes that Lewis Hamilton is going through one of the toughest seasons of his entire career. And yet, the biggest story isn't the disastrous results or the frustrating weekends. It's the fact that he says the only thing keeping him steady is his mental strength. When you hear him talk about it, you can almost feel the weight he's carrying. He's dealing with the pressure of joining the most iconic team in Formula One, the expectations, the criticism, and the reality that the car just hasn't delivered. But instead of breaking, he's leaning on something deeper, and that's what makes this moment so fascinating. And hey, if you're into these kinds of honest, behind-the-curtain breakdowns, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. We're pushing hard to reach 2,000 subscribers, and you can help us get there. When Lewis talks about holding himself together, you can hear the mix of frustration and resilience. It's like he's reminding himself why he still shows up every weekend. And let me ask you something directly. If you were in his place, dealing with the same pressure and the same disappointment, would you push through or walk away? Drop your vote in the comments. Just write, push, or walk. I'm really curious to see what you think, because this situation says a lot about who he is and where Ferrari stands right now. And as we dig deeper into what actually went wrong this season, there's even more to uncover about how everything spiraled into this moment, which leads us right into the next chapter. When you zoom out for a second and look at how this whole season unfolded for Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari, it becomes clear that the disappointment didn't come from just one bad weekend. It was a slow build-up of problems that started early and never truly went away. When Lewis made the move to Ferrari, the entire F1 world was buzzing. It was supposed to be this historic pairing, the most successful driver of all time stepping into the most legendary team. Fans expected fire, noise, wins, podiums, something big right out of the gate. But the reality was completely different. The car simply wasn't there. Week after week, small issues turned into big frustrations. Missed setups, confusing strategy calls, inconsistent performance from session to session. Everything added up. And every time Lewis tried to reset, something else went wrong. You could see it on track. One race he'd be fighting just to stay inside the top 10, and the next he'd be battling a car that refused to respond the way he needed. Ferrari had moments where things looked promising, flashes where the pace showed up for a few laps, but nothing stuck long enough to build momentum. And for a driver who relies so much on rhythm and trust in the machinery, that instability slowly drained the energy out of the season. It's one thing to lose because someone else is faster. It's another when you feel like your own tools won't cooperate. That's the part that hits hardest. And as the tension built behind the scenes, Lewis had to balance his public image, the expectations of Ferrari's fan base, and the reality that he was stuck in the middle of a project still trying to find its direction. I want to ask you something here. Who do you think took the bigger hit this season, Lewis or Ferrari as a whole? Let me know in the comments. Just write Lewis or Ferrari. It'll be interesting to see what side most fans land on, because honestly, you can make a strong case for both. If you're following this whole saga and you want more of these honest breakdowns, go ahead and subscribe. We're aiming for 2,000 subscribers, and your support really does make a difference. And trust me, the deeper we go into what Lewis actually said about holding himself together mentally, the more this story starts to shift. His own words reveal why this chapter of his career matters so much. And that's exactly where we're heading next. What really stands out in all of this is what Lewis Hamilton actually said when he opened up about the season. For someone who has spent years mastering the pressure of Formula One, The way he talked about relying on his mental strength shows just how heavy this year has been. He didn't try to sugarcoat anything. He described how staying focused, staying grounded, and protecting his mindset was the only thing stopping the whole situation from overwhelming him. When a driver with his experience admits that mental resilience has become the deciding factor, it tells you everything you need to know about how difficult this first year at Ferrari has been. There was no blame, no excuses, just this quiet honesty about needing to hold himself together. You could sense the frustration between the lines. He knows the results don't reflect who he is as a driver. But at the same time, he talked about not letting it break him, about using the same tools that got him through past low points. That's the part that really hits you. Even after all the championships, all the wins, all the years at the top, he still has to fight the same mental battles any athlete faces when things start falling apart. And you can hear a kind of acceptance in his tone, almost like he's reminding himself why he still commits to this sport every single day. He said that this season tested him in ways he didn't expect, that it forced him to tap into a deeper level of strength, the kind you don't see on TV or in the standings. I want to ask you something here, because it's one thing to hear the words, but another to understand what they really mean. Do you think his mental strength will actually be enough to get him through another tough season if Ferrari doesn't deliver next year? Yes or no? Vote in the comments. I genuinely want to see where you stand, because this is the kind of moment that can either rebuild a driver or push them to reconsider their entire path. And if you're enjoying these deeper dives into the human side of Formula One, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're aiming for 2,000 subscribers, and it would mean a lot to have you as part of this community. Every new subscription helps keep these videos going, and it lets me bring you more of the analysis you won't hear anywhere else. The interesting part is that when you put his words next to the reality at Ferrari, you start seeing a completely different picture. One where mental strength isn't just personal, but something that affects the whole team. And that's where things really start to get complicated, because his mindset has a direct impact on how Ferrari moves forward from here. That's exactly what we're about to dig into next. When you look at the bigger picture, Lewis Hamilton's mindset this season doesn't just affect him personally. It has a ripple effect that moves straight through Ferrari's garage, from the engineers to the strategists to the team leadership. When the lead driver is fighting to stay mentally balanced, it says something deeper about the environment around him. Ferrari has always been a team of passion, pressure, and expectation. And when things go wrong, that pressure becomes almost impossible to ignore. What Lewis said about relying on his mental strength isn't just a personal confession. It's a message about where the team really stands. If the driver has to carry that much emotional weight just to stay centered, you know the system around him is struggling. And that's why this moment matters so much. A team like Ferrari can't move forward without stability, and this season made it clear that technical improvements are only half the equation. The other half is emotional and structural. The communication inside the garage, the trust between driver and engineers, the confidence that every weekend will be built on a solid foundation rather than uncertainty. Lewis's resilience could become the anchor Ferrari desperately needs, but it could also become a warning sign. If a driver who's known for composure is openly talking about how mentally draining the season was, then the team has to take that seriously. So let me put this to you directly. What do you think Ferrari needs more next season to fix this? Pure performance upgrades or a complete morale reset inside the team? Drop your answer in the comments. Performance or morale? I really want to see where you stand, because both sides have strong arguments. And while you're here, subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this breakdown. We're pushing toward 2,000 subscribers, and your support helps more than you know. Every new subscriber keeps this community growing and gives us the momentum to keep producing these deeper, honest looks at what's happening behind the scenes in Formula One. The fascinating part is that when you combine Lewis's mindset with Ferrari's internal challenges, you start to see the real question behind this entire story. What should fans take away from all of this? That's where everything comes together, and it sets the stage perfectly for the final chapter. When you step back from all the noise, all the frustration, and all the pressure surrounding this season, there's one thing that really stands out. Lewis Hamilton didn't let this year define him. He didn't hide the struggle, and he didn't pretend everything was fine, but he also didn't let the situation break him. And honestly, that's the part I think fans should hold on to. We all talk about pace, strategy, upgrades, and performance, but at the core of every season is a human being sitting inside that car. Someone who still has to show up, stay focused, and keep believing even when everything around them is falling apart. That's the lesson in all of this. It's not just a Ferrari story or a Hamilton story. It's a reminder that resilience matters just as much as raw speed. This season exposed a lot inside Ferrari, from technical weaknesses to internal pressure points. But it also revealed something about Lewis that's easy to forget. Even after all the success, he's still fighting. He still cares. He still pushes himself to find something deeper when things get tough. And that's why this next chapter of his career could still turn into something meaningful. If Ferrari can match even half of the mental strength he showed this season with real progress on their side, then the story changes completely. And as a fan, that's the part you should keep in mind. Not just what went wrong, but what this could become if both sides rise to the moment. Let me ask you something as we wrap up. If you had the chance to sit down with Lewis right now and ask him one honest question about this season, what would it be? Drop it in the comments. I'll be looking through them, and I might pick a few for a follow-up video. And before you go, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. We're pushing hard to reach 2,000 subscribers, and your support genuinely helps keep this community growing. Like the video if you want me to break down Ferrari's off-season plans next, because there's a lot happening behind the scenes that deserves a closer look. Now that we've covered the full picture, you tell me what angle you want next.